Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Andrew at St. Croix Cards on Instagram, and this is SlabStox FC Show, episode number 2 as we enter 2023. So thank you for coming in and joining for episode number 2, and it is an amazing feeling to know that all 5 major leagues in Europe are back in action. The Bundesliga just came back over the weekend after a pretty long break since the World Cup, and it is exciting to be able to talk about these leagues as they all enter the second half of their seasons. And we're going to dive right in because we want to talk a little bit about every league that's there. And so we're going to start with the Premier League because that's really where most of us fixate our eyes on a week-to-week basis. And what a great weekend of football it was. As you can see from the Premier League standings, that Arsenal is still at the top of the table, 50 points at the halfway mark, and they are 5 points clear of Manchester City. But what a great win over the weekend they had over Manchester United. I know in the last episode, I really tried hard not to fixate on all of the Arsenal players, and I think I failed miserably. We talked about Erling last time, and Martinelli, and Odegaard, and Saka, and I did sprinkle in a little Marcus Rashford, but then to watch them come against one another over the weekend and just see the quality that was there, I'm really glad we spent that time in the last episode because, you saw Rashford's absolute rocket from outside the box. I believe that made it 9 goals in 9 games since the World Cup for Marcus Rashford. Super impressive there. And then you saw 2 goals from Erling and a fantastic goal by Bukayo Saka as Arsenal clipped Man United really late on in that game, and it was just a really, really fun game to watch. But it does put Arsenal 5 points clear of Man City. And I think that's a really important number because 5 points or any number of points ahead of Man City, it seems right now, is not going to be enough because Manchester City has one individual that continues to blow my mind, and that is Erling Haaland. I will be the first to tell you that when he moved from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, I thought he is going to be phenomenal. How long is it going to take him to acclimate to the Premier League? That was my thought process. I was very, very, very wrong with my thought process of it. It was going to actually take him any time to kind of transition into the Premier League. He is halfway through a Premier League season, and he already has 25 goals. It's absolutely mind-boggling what Erling Haaland is doing in the Premier League in his first year, in his first half of the first year. He has 25 goals. That is already more than the Golden Boot winners last year at this time, at the end of the season. Heung-min Son and I believe Mo Salah had 23 in all of last year. He has 4 hat tricks this year through 19 games. Now, to put that in perspective, I think it's important to kind of put some of the fastest players in the Premier League to 4 hat tricks. Now, Erling Haaland sits at 19. Look at Ruud van Nistelrooy for Manchester United. It took him 65 games to reach 4 hat tricks in the Premier League. Luis Suarez, it took him 81 games. Alan Shearer, 86. And Robbie Fowler, 89. Now, we're talking about some of the best goal scorers in Premier League history, and Erling Haaland did it in 19 games. Now, if you're looking at this from a perspective of like, what can't he do? I don't know at this point. 25 goals through 19 games. He did miss one due to injury this year. But just to think about that, he's on pace right now. He could realistically be high 40s, even if not into the 50s in goals if he continues this pace up right now. So just absolutely mind-boggling. And then I thought, what would his pricing be doing as of right now? And so I thought, it's got to be going through the roof. But I think, this first example that I want to bring up is just one that is kind of a, as you look to purchase certain players, as you kind of look to buy certain players, what are your intentions with the card? And how long are you expecting to hold it? So here is a great example. This is the 2019 Topps Chrome. This is the UEFA. This is the purple carbon fiber refractor. It is not numbered, but I believe the odds of these in packs in 2019 was like 1 in every 19 packs. But you can see this is a Beckett. This is a BGS 9.5. This is a true gem, meaning all 4 subcategories or subgrades are 9.5s. And this sold December 18th, 2022, so at the end of last year, on PWCC's marketplace for $750. Now, you fast forward just over a month later, this exact same card Same number, same 9.5, same true gem, sold at auction on eBay for $674. Now, Erling Haaland is playing extremely well. Yeah, he's putting in goal after goal after goal after goal. But I think it's important to recognize as you purchase cards, as you look to buy and purchase cards, always asking yourself the question, what do I want to do with this card? What is the end game for the card? So a lot of guys, if it's a guy you collect, if you're you PCing Erling Haaland, chances are if you're going to buy this card, you're going to put it away and it's not coming back out. But if you're kind of in this idea of, these quick flips, like, yeah, it's possible to make money on some cards, but you also have to recognize even the best names, even the biggest names that people would know and recognize doesn't always guarantee that if he's scoring goals and if he's playing well, that it's automatically going to justify a bump in pricing. So it's really important to kind of look at the cards and kind of analyze, what do you want to do with the cards that you're acquiring, and always having kind of a game plan moving forward. But here's a prime example of he's scoring goals, hat tricks, and prices aren't continuing to climb. Now, that's just one example because there are some examples where you see the pricing increase. And one of those cards that I think is a really great card, I personally really love, the black Color Blast out of Obsidian of 2020. Here is his PSA 10 Obsidian Color Blast black PSA 10. The last three sales kind of show a continuous improvement in price. So December 4th of 2022, the Color Blast, the black, sold a PSA 10, sold for $1,530. Fast forward just 2 weeks later, December 18th, at auction, one PSA 10 Obsidian Black Color Blast sold for $1,830. And then January 22nd, after that hat trick, Erling Haaland Obsidian Black Color Blast PSA 10 sold at a fixed price of $2,000. Now, this is a Pop 65, so there's not a ton of them out there in the PSA 10. And I mean, if you look at the Black Color Blast, I mean, look at it, it's got black borders all the way around. So it probably is not ever going to be one that is going to gem on a consistent basis. But really pretty low pop count for a phenomenal player in Erling Haaland. For me at this point, it's just sit back, watch, and enjoy. 25 goals halfway through the season. What is he going to be able to do for the rest of the season? Now, knock on wood, I hope that he stays healthy, because if he can stay healthy, he's going to cause a lot of records in the Premier League to fall over the next few months. But Erling Haaland, big name, doing big things in the Premier League, and that Manchester City sitting 5 points behind Arsenal doesn't make me feel very comfortable, especially when we still have a home and away matches to play against Manchester City. And also coming up this next weekend, we do have the FA Cup matchup with Manchester City and Arsenal. So that's going to be one fun to watch as well. But we're going to move on from the striker position, and we're going to go all the way into the goalkeeper position. Now, I know that goalkeepers don't get a whole lot of credit. They don't sell as well as strikers or even midfielders or even some defenders. But I think that a shout out is needed for the one and the only Nick Pope, 30 years old, English goalkeeper, plays for Newcastle. And over the course of the first half, he has 12 clean sheets in 20 games. So 60% of the time this guy steps out onto the pitch, it's a clean sheet. Now, ever since the World Cup, so he's played in 5 Premier League games since the World Cup, he has let in 0 goals. That is a big reason why Newcastle sits third in the table. They have 39 points right now. They're tied with Manchester United on points, but goal difference, they definitely have it. And a big reason why is Nick Pope in goal, not giving up any goals at all. So I wanted to take a look, and you saw a really, really healthy price, a sale here over the past week. January 18th, his 2021-2022 Prism EPL Black, that's a 101, PSA 9 sold for $489.22. For a goalkeeper, I think that's a pretty healthy sale. But if you are interested in, low number cards and you're not so much concerned of the resale value, or you're just looking for players that you like, I know Nick Pope, most people would know him from his time at Burnley, but even some really nice autos can be had for relatively affordable prices. Now, here's his 2020-2021. This is the Panini Impeccable Indelible Ink auto of Nick Pope. It's out of 25. This is an on-card auto that sold January 22nd for $20. So, I love on-card autos. I'm kind of moving in that direction. I don't know if that's me just maturing in the hobby, but, a lot of it, a lot of my autographs still are sticker autos, but, I do love just the look of an on-card auto. I think a lot of people can resonate with that. But here you could have snagged one on January 22nd for $20. And this is out of 25 of a guy that is leading, the league in clean sheets and is really one of the main reasons why Eddie Howe and Newcastle are in the top 4. Now think about this, their striker, their club record signing in Alexander Isak over the summer has been hurt for the first half of the year. So here you have a guy who was scoring goals in bunches in La Liga in Isak coming over to the Premier League and is almost like a new signing. He's starting to kind of enter games and he's seeing a little bit of time and he's almost back to full fitness, and we're going to see him in a large portion towards the end of the year. But Eddie Howe, Nick Pope, and Newcastle have been in the top 4 without that striker in the first half. So what can they do with a striker like Alexander Isak in the second half? Only time will tell. But really been impressed with Nick Pope. Thought he deserved a shout out here and definitely wanted to make you guys aware of just what he's been doing in the Premier League. Now, these guys that I'm going to talk about next, they don't have any cards as of yet, but definitely keep your eyes out and watch for these guys. The first one is Evan Ferguson. He's an Irish international striker. He plays for Brighton. If you watched Brighton's game over the weekend, he scored that late equalizer to give him the draw. He's been in 5 matches over the course of the year, and he already has 3 goals and 2 assists. So I'm going to be kind of keen to watch Evan Ferguson. Now, he doesn't have any cards from Panini or Topps. I believe that he does have a Leaf auto. I believe he does have a Leaf auto. So if you're interested in kind of those, the Leaf product, you can definitely look at those. But I'm going to wait until we see maybe a Panini Prism EPL card come out or a different thing from if we do get something from Topps Chrome, if Brighton can kind of move up in the table to kind of capture a Europa League, which I don't think is happening. So all of my eggs for Evan Ferguson are in the Panini Prism EPL basket. Now the other one is Wilfred Nanto. He's a 19-year-old Italian winger for Leeds. He's been in 8 matches over the course of the year, 1 goal, 1 assist. I know he did have 2 goals, either in the FA Cup, I believe, here in the last couple weeks. Played really well. If you watch this kid play, he's got a lot of pace. He's electric in what he's bringing to the table. I really have enjoyed watching him. He stood out to me, and so I'm kind of just monitoring him and his abilities here over the next second half of the Premier League season. But 2 guys who maybe just put on your radar, maybe jot their name down. I could be very wrong in both of these players. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do enjoy watching these 2 play, and they've kind of piqued my interest, and so I'm going to I myself jot their names down. And I'm looking to watch them. But I would love to know at this point, if you guys got people in the Premier League that have impressed you over the course of the first half, jot them in the comments below. Always feel free to, direct message me on Instagram and let me know too who you guys are thinking. If there's players that you want to talk about, there's players that you want to look at a little bit more deeply as we can kind of dive into Card Ladder and see some of the sales and see what some of these players are doing. So please, this is interactive. I want to hear from y'all and hear who you think deserves to be on this. Kind of keep an eye out, keep a lookout for some of the young players that are in the Premier League. I do want to jump over to La Liga in Spain and take a look. Barcelona had that big 3-1 win over Real Madrid. They are currently top of the league, followed by Real Madrid. And I think there's a big name that has really kind of hit the ground running after the World Cup. It could be argued maybe Pedri did not live up to expectations at the World Cup. Spain maybe disappointed a few at the World Cup. But here Pedri, he's 20 years old, and he's scoring goals. He's had 2 goals in the last 2 La Liga games. Scored the only goal here in Barcelona's 1-0 win over the weekend, and then did score one of the 3 in their 3-1 win over Real Madrid. And so I brought up his 2020-2021 Panini Chronicles. This is his Optic Purple Mojo. And just kind of seeing, over the past month or so that prices have been staying pretty consistent for his Purple Mojo. You can see one sold January 2nd as a raw for $20. January 12th, a raw also sold for $22.10. And then January 22nd, his Purple Mojo sold for $22. So not a whole lot of movement in his pricing, but we are seeing more goals here post the World Cup, 2 in a row. We'll see if he can make that 3 in a row as we look to the weekend. Some of his autos, now I didn't take his rookie auto, I took his second-year auto, so his 2022 Topps Chrome. This is the Rookie Cup autograph refractor. This is the one that has the little the trophy that's on the right-hand side of the card if you are listening. But if you are watching on YouTube, you can definitely see that on the card itself. And kind of pricing all over the place. January 19th, we had one of these sell for $100 raw. January 22nd, one sold for $64. And then a second one sold on January 22nd for $84. Now, if you're listening and not watching, I do want to point out there is the middle one that sold for $64. I think it's important, for me, myself, I always am very keen when I'm looking to purchase cards on eBay or any other platforms that has pictures of the card. I really look for high resolution, great pictures that I can kind of analyze from my computer screen. So, the interesting thing about these sales is they are all over the map, but I do want to point out that middle one. If you're watching, that one with the orange background doesn't have the greatest pictures. If you go back on eBay and look, really kind of grainy, hard to see. And sometimes I think when you have poor quality photos or not great descriptions of the cards, it's very easy for those prices to be lower than pricing of cards that you can see the card, you can analyze the card, you can make a well-educated decision. So when I see kind of cards jump across, I always try to do my research and even go back and look at what did the listing look like, what were the pictures looking like, to try to understand if there was a discrepancy in price. Because going from $100 to $64 back to $84, to me, I need to do a little bit more research myself. I can't just, I can see the prices at which they sold, but I also want more information to know, is there a reason why prices are selling for lower? So when everybody kind of throws comps at you and as you start, if you're going to shows or if you're doing other things, for me, it's always on me to do the research and make sure that I'm aware of the prices of the cards that I'm looking at and understanding maybe a little bit better of why might the prices be the way that they are. But Pedri is playing well in La Liga. It'll be interesting to see how Barcelona does in the second half of the La Liga season. We're going to jump into Germany because they just started back up after in the new year over the weekend. And if you look at the table, you do have Bayern Munich. They are 5 points clear at the top. And you can look all the way down to sixth place, 28 points right now. You do have Borussia Dortmund, but they have one player that really impressed in the first half of the season and continues to impress at the World Cup. And also doesn't seem to be missing a beat as he gets a goal and assist in their 4-3 win over Augsburg over the weekend. Jude Bellingham, 19 years old. The kid can pretty much basically pick where he wants to play and where he wants to be transferred to in the summer. My eyes are fixated on who is he going to choose. Is he going to Real Madrid? Do you think he might end up in La Liga? Is he going to make the move to the Premier League and play at a place like Liverpool or Manchester City? I don't know where he wants to play, but where he wants to play is where he's going to play. Now, this is his 2020-2021. This is the Top Chrome Bundesliga Sapphire. This is a base. It is a PSA 10. I do want to show it got a little bit of a higher pop count, 373, but you can kind of see the prices fluctuate here over the past week or so. January 15th, you had one sell for 108 on best offer, PSA 10. January 19th, best offer at $150. And then finally here, January 23rd at auction, you're looking at about $92. So kind of fluctuating, but you did get Borussia Dortmund winning the game 4-3. Jude Bellingham is unbelievable at 19. I think we're starting to think that every teenager should be fantastic. Every kid who's under every kid under 23 should be as good as Bellingham or as good as Haaland. And I think we're being a little bit spoiled as fans just at the quality that we're seeing at such a young age. Even throw Pedri in there. Great quality at very, very young ages. But Bellingham is one for me to watch. I really enjoy watching him play, and I'm looking forward to watching a few more Borussia Dortmund games here in the course of the new year. Finally, the other player that I did want to highlight in Borussia Dortmund's lineup in their 11 is Jamie Bynoe-Gittens. He's 18 years old. He's English, and he plays for Borussia Dortmund. Kind of on, the same. I think he came up from the Manchester City Academy. He made the move over to Borussia Dortmund. He's only played in 5 games this year. but he does have 2 goals. Now, I think he scored at the very, very first game of the season, and then he just scored over the weekend against Augsburg, one of those 4 goals. But he missed 10 games this year already due to a shoulder injury. And so it's not, it's not ligaments, it's not ankles, it was a shoulder injury. He's back. He scored a goal. He's 18 years old, and he doesn't have many cards. Now, I think he's in the Jude Bellingham Platinum set, but I do know that he is in the new Topps Deco set. So you don't see any sales there yet, but you do see the picture of Jamie Bynoe-Gittens on the Top Deco card. Might be one to just kind of monitor. Again, it doesn't have any massive sales yet, but that Topps Deco set, I've been starting to go through the checklist. If you haven't had a chance to do that as well, there are some interesting names in that checklist to make sure. I always like to look at the new checklist and say, okay, are there any players, any young players who have cards in this set that may not have any cards in any other set? And he would be, in my opinion, be one of them, as that new Topps Deco set has Gittens in it. So one to watch, one to kind of keep tabs on as Borussia Dortmund and the Bundesliga picks back up. We're going to jump over to Italy in Serie A, and as you look at the standings here, Napoli is really running away with Serie A, and I know there's been some controversy over there with Juventus getting a points deduction here. Not that they were in first place by any stretch of the imagination, but here Napoli is at 50 points through 19 games. They've only lost once, and a lot of that has to do with Victor Osimhen, which he is scoring goals in bunches. In those 15 games, he's got 13 goals and 4 assists, just doing extremely well for Napoli. And one has to ask the question, is he going to stay at Napoli? You'd think at some point, you think Napoli wants to cash in on Victor Osimhen and move on from him. But the only time will tell if that happens over the summer. I don't see it happen. It's not going to happen with them in first place here in the winter transfer window. But in the summer, it will be interesting to see if somebody comes knocking on Napoli's door for the services of Osimhen. Now, I stayed in the Merlin realm here, so you can see that this is his red refractor. This is out of 10, his rookie refractor out of Merlin. August 11th of last year, a raw copy of this card did $580. And then you fast forward to January 21st. This is a PSA 9 from MySlabs, sold by a best offer of $675. So pretty healthy sale for 24-year-old Victor Osimhen. And it'll be interesting to see how he continues his progress over the second half of the season. But it'll be a great thing. I think Napoli will take that no problem. Now, if out of the 10, or if 650 to 675 is way out of the budget, there are other options for you if you're looking at snagging one of Osimhen's Merlin rookies. Now, this is the green refractor. This is out of 99. November 11th, a raw copy of this card sold for $50. And then fast forward to January 21st of this year, another raw copy sold on auction for $78. So for under $80, a refractor rookie green out of 99 for less than $80 for Victor Osimhen for a goal scorer, right? So a lot of options here, but this is what I love about football in general, is we can cover so many leagues and talk about so many different players. And here, after the end of episode 2, we have had a chance to just highlight some of the big names. But the question then becomes, who do you think we should be talking about? Who do you think we should be highlighting and kind of analyzing as they've continued to play well in their respective leagues? So let me know in the comments below. Let me know, again, like I said, on Instagram, shoot me questions that you may have in regards to players, situations in the future. But really, the end of this next week is a massive week for football across Europe, because it is the last week of the winter transfer window. It closes on January 31st. So all eyes will be on, teams and clubs as they make signings and as players are sold in the transfer window. And there has been a lot of movement already. You have a lot of teams who are stocking up and looking to make that push, either to win their respective leagues, or you got a lot of teams buying in hopes to avoid relegation. And that is one of the beautiful things about football, is that you want to be competitive and nobody wants to slip into the league below the top league in their respective country. So transfer window ends next week, and we'll be back to kind of, we'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about just what's happened, who's moved and what that could look like for respective clubs. And we'll probably have an update a little bit on those leagues as well. So if you got any questions, again, definitely just leave them in the comments below. But I am Andrew at St. Croix Cards on Instagram, and it is always a pleasure to hang out and talk a little football with all y'all. Have a great week and just make it a great day. Catch y'all later.